Good morning and welcome to Walking with Watches, a watch related YouTube channel run by me, a simple, honest, humble, modest watch collector, as we talk about this wonderful hobby that is watch collecting. Today we're going to talk about a subject which is something reasonably personal to me. We're going to be talking about why I think Seiko are the best watch company of them all. I don't pretend they're the best watch brand, I don't pretend they're the best watch maker, but they're a company that I have a huge amount of time and a huge amount of respect for. So join me on this journey. We're going to talk about the history of the brand, talk about my feelings on the brand. I'm going to show off some of the Seikos that I currently have in my collection. So get yourself a cup of tea, cup of coffee, nice cold beer, glass of wine, depending on, what you're into. And let's talk about this. Come on, let's go. Yes, Seiko. A name synonymous with innovation, precision and quiet mastery. Often underappreciated in the West, this Japanese giant has arguably done more to shape modern horology than almost any other brand. It all began in 1881, when a young Kintaro Hattori opened a humble shop in central Tokyo, selling and repairing clocks. By 1892, he founded Seikosha, the House of Exquisite Workmanship, laying the foundation for what would become Seiko. But Seiko didn't just build watches, they reshaped watchmaking. For example, in 1969 the world was stunned by the Seiko Astron, the first commercially available quartz wristwatch. A revolution, yes, but it was only the beginning. They followed this with the world's first multifunctional digital watch in 1975 and later the first TV watch. In 1988 they introduced the kinetic movement, converting wrist motion into electrical energy, and of course spring drive, which its earliest iterations are seen around 1999 or there or thereabouts, obviously a bit later in the Western market when they relaunched in 2010. This was an incredible fusion of mechanical tradition and quartz watchmaking, which brought the best of both, quartz accuracy with mechanical passion. But Seiko's ambition didn't end with innovation. In 1960, for example, they created Grand Seiko, a sub-brand devoted to the pursuit of perfection. Well known for the razor-sharp hands, beautiful dials, all inspired by Japanese nature, movements assembled by Takumi masters on the snow-covered hills of Morika and Shijori. Apologies to my Japanese friends for the pronunciation there. And then there's Credor, the crown jewel in Seiko's artistry, a quiet luxury brand born in the 1970s. Credor is where Seiko's finest watchmakers craft the absolute best that the brand has to offer. Seiko, Grand Seiko and Credor, they share more than a name. They reflect a singular philosophy, a true proof that watchmaking isn't about logos or hype, but craftsmanship, integrity and evolution. Right, but yes, we're not here for a history lesson. So before we can explore fully why Seiko are actually the best watch company in the world, we do need to make two small concessions. Okay, like I've already said, fair enough, they are not the best watch brand in the world, and secondly, they're not the best watch maker in the world. So let's start there, shall we? When it comes to the best brand in the world, Rolex possibly have that crown. Their marketing and synonymous nature with luxury go beyond any other maker to date. It's easy perhaps, and even fashionable, to scoff at Rolex these days. The endless wait lists, the influencer flash, the diamond set day dates worn more for status than substance. Yes, there is an ugly side to Rolex, but to stop there would miss the bigger picture. Because for all the noise, Rolex remains undeniably the greatest watch brand in the world. Why? Because no brand blends prestige, durability and recognition quite like Rolex do. It's the only watch brand that exists both in the realm of tool watches and luxury. And yet they're also worn by heads of state, artists and explorers, not because they want to show off, but because Rolex has become a symbol of excellence and simultaneously a symbol of achievement. Unlike Seiko, however, Rolex doesn't diversify. It doesn't branch out into hundreds of models or technologies. It refined, it perfected, it created a product so consistent, so well made, that it became a global benchmark for luxury timepieces. Now, does that mean that Rolex make the most beautiful or technically complex watches? No. But what it does mean is that when someone says the word watch, chances are they're picturing a Rolex. Don't get me wrong, as you can see from the title of this video, I love Seiko. It's a people's watchmaker, a pioneer, a workhorse of the industry. But when we step into the realm of haute horology and true high watchmaking names like Patek Philippe, A. Lange & Söhne and F.P. Journe, these stand apart from Seiko, and with good reason. Patek Philippe, for example, founded in 1839, represents the pinnacle of Swiss tradition. Everything from its movements, its fine finishing, its case design, it's done with a level of restraint and mastery that very few can match. Then of course you have A. Lange & Söhne from Germany, the pride of German watchmaking, resurrected in the 1990s after reunification. Think the Lange 1, Datograph, the Zeitwerk, each a mechanical sculpture. Then you move on to the modern masters of F.P. Journe, founded again in the 1990s, well 1999 if memory serves. F.P. Journe bring artistic soul to horology. The watches are quirky, deeply personal, technically dazzling. They aren't just timepieces, they're inventions. Now, compare these houses to Seiko, particularly Grand Seiko, and what you're starting to see is that Seiko offers some exceptional value. And when it comes to it, with Grand Seiko, particularly some exceptional finishing. So then, why do I think Seiko are the best watch company? So, finally, I currently have 2 Seikos in my collection. You've seen them throughout this video. I have the Grand Seiko Snowflake, I have this, which is the Street Fighter Special Seiko 5, the Ryu version, and actually I have another Seiko on loan into the channel from a very, very, very good friend of mine who I told I was going to make this video and agreed to lend me one of his watches. And this then really is the point. Whether you're the big watch brands of the world like Rolex or Audemars Piguet, or whether you're one of the great watch makers of the world, the F.P. Journes, A. Lange & Söhnes, the Patek Philippe's, Seiko have a watch for every single wrist and every single budget. And no matter how good those other brands, no matter how good those other makers are, you cannot say the same for them. Whether you want something classy and elegant, you've only got £100. I actually think the Seiko that you're seeing on screen now, that was picked up, I'm pretty sure, from a charity shop, and he paid a couple of pounds for it. You know, it wasn't a lot of money. Or whether you've got a few £100, you want to go and get something sporty, or you want a couple of £1,000, you want to go out and get yourself something fancy, or you've got crazy money and you want to go into Credor, Seiko make a watch for you. Now you could say, is that not just a watch company doing what watch companies do, which is maximally selling watches, at times to the detriment of their own reputation? And I would say, yes, that's possibly true. The world won't accept Grand Seiko as a competitor for Rolex because you can buy a watch with Seiko on the dial for a couple of pounds in a charity shop. Now, admittedly, that's not the only reason. You know, Rolex, for example, have got some real watchmaking achievements and quality of product that makes them stand out on their own right. I understand that. But one of the barriers that Grand Seiko have often experienced is the idea that you're paying a lot of money for just a Seiko. When it comes to Seiko watches, it seems to be that there's a race to the bottom. People don't look at the best of what they can do, they look at the worst of what they do and assume that everything is just an extension of the worst rather than a more accessible route to their best. However, I can't help but respect them. The sheer fact that they do everything as well as they do at every single price point means that I find them to be accessible and without some of the ugliness that sometimes comes with this hobby. I'm sure most of the people watching this channel have experiences dealing with some of the higher end brands, and there's a real snobbery that sometimes comes with that, which I feel is detracting from the joy of owning the watches. There's something about interacting with brands who clearly don't want to sell you their products to actually come across a company like Seiko that make products as good as theirs at all price points, that are actually quite happy to sell it to you, is genuinely quite refreshing. And it's ridiculous, isn't it? All we're trying to do is spend our money. So it really is that simple. You gotta love them. Well, I do anyway.